Hi everybody, welcome back to the live stream cello lesson. Today we're going to be continuing with our Bach Cello Suite No.1, and we're going to be looking at Sarabande today. So let's get our music up. And Sarabande for me is it's easy in its own way, but it's also difficult in its own way. And I'll talk about what that means. So, a couple of things I'm going to talk about in this dance is chords on cello, right? So, especially major, minor, so chords in Sarabande are very important, but it's a little bit tricky to play because it's not like on a piano where you can play all the notes at the same time, right? Because we can only play two strings at a time, there's gonna be some kind of issue with the timing of the chords. So that's another thing we're going to talk about. Timing of the chords. And then probably, well, this you'll see what I mean, but last thing that's gonna be important is how to distinguish the melody from the chord. So what I mean by that is in terms of composition, a lot of the times they just kind of mention it as melody and harmony, right? The harmony being what kind of chords are played underneath the melody. So I think those are the main points that we're going to talk about in this stream. So let's get started. So it looks deceptively short, but there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to look at. So first, let's just take a look at the first two measures here. And for now, we're only going to play the top line. We're going to ignore the chords for a second, right? Don't play the chords, just the yellow notes that are highlighted for now, right? All right. So it's going to be a very slow 3/4. So feel in 6 beats, or feel the 8th notes. So what do I mean by that? When you're counting, always count the 8th notes, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 E and 2. So right now we're gonna do without the chords and without the trill. Try and follow the bowing, okay? All right. So it's going to be, and let me quickly write the fingerings. It's right up top. All right, so let's finally play the yellow highlighted notes. Okay, so I'm gonna count to 3, feeling in eighth notes. So we're gonna go very slowly. It's almost the tempo that we're gonna play. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 2. Let's go until there. That was a little bit faster than I wanted, but let's keep it there for a second. So once again, 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... All right. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, the hard part is going to be adding the chords, right? So let's just isolate the chords, right? We're only gonna play, let's just learn the chords first, right? So we have the first chord being D, or G, D, and then B, right? And as we normally play, we're gonna play 2 notes and 2 notes. Like that. Something a little bit difficult about this beginning is that the chord starts at an elbow, right? So try to just practice getting a good sound starting from the tip, and try to have good sound all the way through, right? For now, don't worry about the timing of the chords. Right now, just try and get just that chord sounding good in one bow, right? So, and then the second chord is open G, first finger, and then D, right? Or C, excuse me. Same thing, 2 and 2. And here, I'll explain after. So second chord is going to be open, first finger, E, and then C natural. And then the last chord is G major once again, right? So, chord-wise, it's very straightforward. Let me write the fingering down. But the difficulty will be playing it kind of in tempo, making sense of it rhythmically, right? In terms of the phrase. Something you can try is just kind of ignore the counting for a moment. 2 and so one tip I'll give is don't play the chords too hard. So just practice the chords. Because really the movement of the chords is what's gonna be kind of trip you up. As far as that's what I noticed in a lot of the students. So just practice getting the chords into your fingers into the bow movement. You can practice just the top two strings, right? So get the chords very comfortable first, right? And then these guys, the trick to these guys, although it says half note, you're not really going to hold those notes for half notes. It's gonna be impossible, right? Because when you play the top two strings, you're not gonna be able to play the bottom G. So it's kind of implied that you're not gonna hold the half notes all the way through, but you're gonna try and hold it as long as possible, right? As far as the E, the first finger E, and maybe at the very last moment, start playing just the C, just the A string, and then you can kind of let go of the E and then prepare for that B, right? So that's something I do, just to kind of have a little bit of fluidity. And also kind of define what the actual melody is, right? Even though the bottom harmony is very nice to hear, it's not necessarily something that is important, right? The most important part is the melody. So just be aware of that. And let me quickly write the chords so you can see what chord progression we're doing. So the trill will be, let's see, so the second measure, and then for that trill G major chord, I start on the upper note, on the C. Right? I guess it's really up to you how you want to, on what note you want to start the trill. For me, personally, I like starting on the C instead of B because you kind of have that a little bit of tension from that suspended sound, and then you're resolving it. But if you started on the C, that suspended sound is going to be a little bit more ambiguous in terms of how it's going to resolve. So me personally, I like to start it on the C, that trill. So yeah, let's just play the yellow phrase real quick. It is very hot today. All right. So, just a yellow phrase. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and... Alright, really good. Now let's keep on going to the next phrase. I'm going to do it light blue. And same thing, right? Let's just take a look at the melody first. So that D, we come from, right, we're in second position. So that D, instead of playing on the A string, we're gonna play harmonic, or that's what I do. And then F natural down in first position. So this may look a little bit tricky, but remember that the dotted note, we're gonna split it into its subdivision, right? So it's really going to be like, oh. So if we divide it, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. Like that, right? 1 E and E di di dam. 1 E and dam. So 1 E and 1 E and It's kind of difficult to say and play, but 1 and 2 E and 2 E and 2 E and 2 E and like that. 2 E and 2 E and So that's the rhythm there. Just count the 16th note, right? 1 E and da da dee ram. And it's not a triplet. It's not a triplet. You gotta count. You gotta count evenly, right? Because this is basically this. Right? We're tying these three notes together. 1, 2, 3, da 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 dum. Right? That kind of counts as a rest. 3 and 1, and then we have a triple here. So that's the rhythm there. It's not as complicated as it looks. Just remember that it's two. You have to think about this fits in the fourth beat, fourth E. That didn't make sense. Sorry. So it definitely comes after the and, right? 2 and so Indiana. Maybe think about that, like 2 E and 3 2 E and N-E and 2, right? 1 E and 2 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and Now I'm counting double the speed, but I'm just really thinking about the 30-second notes, right? If I taw out the 30 seconds, it sounds like this. So that's what the rhythm is there. Let's try it one more time. 1 and 2. Without the trill first. Right? We have to remember the 16th note. 1 and so really be very, very sure of the rhythm of the melody, right? If you're not clear about the melody, it's gonna be very difficult for you to add the chords into it, right? So just be really sure of the melody. and 2. I think I go and so another thing to feel is you can think about in 16th notes. Always be counting out the 16th notes, right? Da 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 so maybe in order to figure out the rhythm, play very exactly, count in 16th notes maybe. Count the 16th notes. Count it. That's gonna help you understand the rhythm, right? 1 and 1 E and 2 E and 1 2 and so counting is very important there. So let's look at the chords that we play here. So probably in your music you actually don't have these two notes. You probably just only have the E. I personally like to play this C and G because it's going from a G7 to C major here, right? Which goes back to D major, D7. D7, G, D sus. So the chord progression changes quite rapidly, and 3 and right, D7 or D sus to D major. So the first chord, this is optional, remember that. Actually, sorry, let me write one thing down. There we go. So those chords are going to be at least the first one's going to be optional. So it's going to be C major, open, open, first finger. And then the D sus or D major is going to be 1, 1, 3, right? So you're going to try and bar your first finger down here. And then 1, 1, 3. So this trill is going to be a little bit tricky because you have to hold that chord a little bit, at least the A. Or you can kind of roll into and single out the G and the F sharp, right, for the trill. So instead of doing 2 and 2, you can do 2 and 1, like play the harmony and then the melody, right? Harmony, melody, like that. So, couple of strategies that you can do as far as timing. So let's just play the first line for now. I'll talk a little bit specifically about the timing of the chords at the end of the class. But for now, let's just try and play through the first line. Let's do it like this. I'm gonna play only the melody first time through, and then I'm gonna play it again, but with the chords. Okay? All right. So let's try it. Just the melody. 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 1 2 3 So, when you're playing the melody, let's write that down. So when you're playing the melody, be very exact with the rhythm, right? At least when you're learning only the melody. When you're starting to add the chords, it becomes a little bit difficult to understand the rhythm of the melody because we're breaking the strings, right? So that's one thing that you have to be very clear about, what the melody sounds like. So let's now try with the chords. Same thing. First line. 2 and 3. And 2 and pretty good, right? Now let's continue on. I think the second line is much easier. So let's just continue with our coloring scheme. What should I do? Green? Green. B. So the bowing, let me clarify once again. The bowings and fingerings and some of the chord additions are simply suggestions, right? Suggestions and recommendations. They're my own fingering. There's some things I definitely continue utilizing what my teachers taught me. So the choice is up to you, whether you want to follow this fingering and follow this phrasing, really. So let's take a look at the green phrase really quickly. And I'm going to explain why I do this bowing and fingering, okay? So let's take a look at measure 5. And let's just play without the bowing, right? Just figure out the notes. So here we have A in second position of D, F sharp, stay in position, D on second position, and then B like that. So, and then open G, I don't know why that's open because I do 4 here as well. So what I do is, and then that G, between 4th finger and G, I kind of just squish. I don't necessarily shift because it's slurred, right? And then extension. So once again, same measure 5, A, F sharp, then D, C natural, and then G, and then B, B, B. And then open G, B with 1st finger, D with 4th finger, G with 1st finger, we're in 3rd position, extension, right? And then let's go here. So we're gonna be in that same position, B, G, E is the same position, just 1 string over, C sharp. So this position, D, E. That position is going to be quite useful in general. We use it a lot for A major stuff. So be aware of that position. So 3rd position, B, extension, G, E, D with 2nd finger, and then C sharp, right? And then for these guys, what we're gonna do is shift all the way back to 1st position and then extension. So here, same thing, rhythmically, right? Think 1 and da 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 da, right? So 1 bum bum bum, like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, like that. So try to feel that when you're doing that. So like this: 2 E and F, 1, 2 E and 3, like that. 2 E and 3 E and like that. So. So that's the rhythm and that's the fingering that I utilize. Now, why did I do that? Those fingerings and those bowings. It's because for me it makes more sense to follow the harmony as far as grouping your fingerings as well as grouping your bowings, bow phrasing. So this one is going to be D dominant, which is going to be resolved to G. And then this is E minor, right? So it's E minor to A major, which goes to D major here. You know what? I would say this whole bottom phrase is kind of all linked together. So if we take a look at the last two measures, let's do it without the bowing. I mean the last two measures of the first half. So it'll be, we end in a G natural, and then for that C sharp, what we're going to do is we're going to shift to second position, because we're gonna come back to, right, and then first finger 4, 3, open, and then here and then shift up to third position here. Let's try that one more time. So 4, 1. First position. Shift. Tune with that open D. And yeah, there you go. So the bowing is going to be what's kind of difficult here. So here's what I do. So for that dotted eighth, I try and get to the tip as much as possible. So you have a lot more bow for that G major arpeggio. Right? Because if you don't give yourself enough room with the bow, you're going to run out of the bow on that when you're doing that up bow. So the D dominant, that's normal, right? For that B, use the whole entire bow and then save the up bow a little bit. So you just give yourself a little bit more room, right? And then same thing here, right? Same thing for the E minor and then A7. Let's write A7. So same thing here. For that trill, C sharp trill, we're going to just pull the bow all the way, use all the bow, and then so we have a lot more bow to utilize on the up bow, right? Right, if I want to, I can hold that D for a lot longer than I want to. So that's the idea. When you're trying to do the bowing and trying to get used to the bow length or saving the bow or something like that, exaggerate it a little bit more. Try to use more or less bow than you have to. So for example, so here, exaggerate a bit, and then so just hold that, hold the last note, try and get to the point where you can hold the last note for longer than you need to, right? The idea is you want to be able to do more than what the piece is asking for, right? Or have more, be more capable than what the piece is asking for. And it's not necessarily technique, it's just planning ahead with the bow and just kind of just choreographing it, right? And same thing here in measure 6. Save. And here, right? The reason why we break here is because we have a shift as well as a string change. So the green phrase, I think, is kind of like it's very stepwise in terms of the energy, right? So 5, measure 5, relax, right? And then the next measure slightly more intense. And then here we're, I don't know, there's no pause, or it's all 16th notes here. There's no 8th notes, there's no quarter notes, so there's momentum here, right? Until here, and until that very last D, right? The very last D is when you're actually landing. So so let's just play the first measure, or the green line once again, right? All right. All right. So let's do the green line. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 1 and 1. So the green phrase is pretty straightforward, right? So try not to be too hung up on the bowings. If you want to just get the rhythm, first of all you need to do is just play without the bowing, right? 1 E and da da da. So that's how the green phrase goes. So try to just practice it slowly. I went a little bit faster that time, right? So now that we have the first half all worked out, all we have to do is now play it together. All right? So once again, so when I say feel the eighth note, you're going to just one, two. You're gonna feel the rhythm in eighth notes, right? Maybe not exactly in 6 pulses, but try to be conscious of the 3, 4, but feel it in 8, feel it in 6, right? But also be counting in your head the 16th notes. That's a little bit complicated, but if you follow the steps that I told you, just for example, just play the melody, learn the melody first, and then add the chords, learn the chords, and then add them together, playing without the bowing and things like that. All of that is going to help you kind of get the feel for this piece. All right, let's play the first half. 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3. Measure 5. D. Na. And normally you would repeat it, right? So that's how the first half goes. Hopefully that was a little bit more helpful in terms of how to learn this piece, how to make sense of this dance, because it doesn't sound like a dance, right? It's very slow. It's very easy to make it kind of dragging and kind of melancholy, but you have to remember it's still a dance, right? So you have to make people, eventually the end goal is to make people dance. So be aware of that. Okay. Dang. It's already been almost an hour. How about this? I'm going to take a quick break and let's continue after that. Because it's really hot. So I'll be right back and we'll continue with the second half, okay? Alrighty, folks. Let's get going. Let's continue on with the second half. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take a look at the melody and then the chords, and then the bowing and things like that. Now that I kind of explained the process a little bit of how to go about Sarabande, I think the second half should be a little bit easier. We're gonna do, let's do purple. Alright, so let's just take a look. The purple phrase is a little bit long. It's going to be the entire line. But I think once you understand how it's phrased, you'll be okay. So same thing here. Let's just try and play. Yeah. from here, it's pretty straightforward because it's single monophonic, right? Alright, so let's just play until let's just play measure by measure. So let's play measure 9 first. Try and follow the bowing, right? So 2 and 3, 2 and 3, and 3, like that. Once more, 3 and try. Let's do this. Try to play those two notes. And 3. Right? So the measure 9 isn't too difficult. Let's take a look at measure 10, this guy. And for that, D sharp. So what we're going to do is, I guess it'll make more sense when I do the double stop. So it calls for trill as well as doing this double stop, right? Playing that A and the D sharp. So the easiest way to do that is play the E and the A together, right? And then do the trill by itself, right? I guess you can do that as well, just playing. But the idea is you play the double stop first, and then the trill, right? The second measure is a little bit tricky. Da, dee, da. This D sharp is on the G string down here, right? So it continues. We're not gonna do the trill here just yet. So here, starting from B, starting from here, it's gonna be 3. Shift down to third position. First position, second position, back to first position, and here you have a choice. You can do 4-1-4-1, right? Or 3. That E at the end should not be 1. Should be a 2. So you have 4-1, and here you have a choice of either 3 or 4-1 or 3 extended 1, right? So you can either do like that, or you can do extension like that, right? So you have a choice. start from that B once again. Here, right? So one and so three and shift, 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 shift. Let me see what I do. I do 3 extension, I guess. It just makes more sense to not move around so much after. But I guess it's up to you. If you don't like doing extensions, you can do 4-1, right? You can shift into half position. Alright, so as far as the chords, it's going to be almost the same chords that we have been using before, right? The first chord is going to be D major, and then so 2 and 2, right? And then G, we've seen that before. And then I think I like to do the the 5th here. Just, I don't know, cause once again, I think it's that suspended sound that I like. Because the chord there that you're trying to outline, the harmony, is a diminished chord. So but in order to, but that 5th gives it a little bit more tension, right? So that's how you would play the chords. So once again, just be very comfortable with the melody, right? 2 and so I guess, for example, here, instead of hold, I just, instead of holding, yeah, instead of playing 2 and 2 there, I guess I play 2-1, kind of almost rolling. So try and play, if the trills are messing you up, just play without the trill, right? So let's just try the purple line once again. First time, I'm going to play just a melody, and I'm going to try and count as well. And the second time through, I'm going to also add the chords, right? So let's try purple line melody only. So 2 and 3 E and 2 3. Sorry, I said I was gonna do without the trill. One more time. 3 and 3 once again, if you're playing the melody, be very precise with the rhythm. That's gonna help you a lot in terms of feeling the piece and making it make sense when you're actually adding the chords, right? The phrasing makes sense even though you're kind of breaking up the timing of it, right? So that's the idea. So let's try the purple phrase now with all the chords. So same thing, 2 E and 3 E and Alright, so that's the purple phrase. Let's just write the chords down. The harmony is going to help. That's a bit wild. Sorry. That is an E minor. So. Sorry. Not B7. Stays in B. Right, so it goes just back and forth from E minor to B7. So dominant to tonic, right? That's gonna be the harmony, right? So D7, G major. It's a diminished, technically, but it's diminished chord derived from dominant, right? Right? So trill, E, right? So that's gonna be the harmony, right? The B dominant, E minor, B dominant, E minor, B dominant, E minor. That's gonna be quite important in this section. And it really helps to know the harmony because the general rule is that you want the dominant sounds to be a bit more intense so that when you actually land on the tonic or the resolution, right, the resolution feels a little bit more satisfying. So for example, that D7 in the first measure of the second half, instead of just dying down in the energy, right? Instead of landing softly on that, there's a different energy when you kind of carry through that dominant sound. Hold. So there's a different way of resolving the dominant, and it has a very different feeling to it. So kind of play around with it. You can make the dominant a little bit more tense, and then the tonic or the resolution be a little bit more relaxed, right? That gives it a little different sensation, right? But if you carry on like crescendo to the resolution, it's different. So play around with it. That's one thing that's difficult about Bach. There's no dynamic markings, but the dynamic, or in this case, how intense you want to sound, is very much based on the harmony and how the harmony is moving. So keep that in mind. Let's just play the purple phrase once more. So 3 and 2 and all right. So that's how you play the purple phrase. Now let's move on. Let's play the blue phrase. So once again, let's play the melody first. I'll explain that later. Alright, so let's just play the highlighted notes. So 3 E and 1 E and E and like that. Let's just play that measure once again. 3 E. So it's easier to count the 16th notes here. 3 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3. Extension position back to the G string, half position, right? Don't shift, but extend back. And then D. Like that. So that jump is a little bit difficult. But if that jump is difficult for now, you can skip it. Make sure you feel that 16th note though, right? One and da da. You can do that definitely if you're having trouble doing that G sharp. So that G sharp, the reason why it may cause trouble is because it's actually not part of the melody, and I'll explain to you why. So if we take a look at the chords that it's marking out, that should be a C here. Oh. Let's do this. Messed up. So C, A minor, so the reason why that G sharp is difficult is it's actually part of the second melody, right? The bass line. So what I mean by that is pay attention to how these guys are relating, right? So right? So let me try and sing. It might sound terrible, but so that's why that G sharp sounds weird, because it's actually outlining the bass line. So what I like to do is just make that bass line very obvious for the audience, for the listener, right? So in reality, I'm focusing on connecting these two. So because that A is eventually going to resolve to that B, right? So just be aware of that. That's how I make sense of that, those big old jumps in the strings. So let's just play the first blue phrase here. So 3 E and 1 and 2 and let's take a look at the last two measures, right? So here, you're gonna play the open D all the way through. Like that. And then that up bow, right? This is gonna be a down bow. So 1. So 1, 2, 2, like that. Shift down to 4th position, and then 3rd position extension, like that. And then open D, and meanwhile you will shift to the 2nd position, and like that. So if we just play the, so here's it's a little bit difficult because the melody is switching around, right? So we have that first melody on the bass line, and then it goes over to the other voice, and like that. Alright, so let's try and make sense of the harmony. So this, if we're gonna be resolving to C, it's most likely going to be a G. And then here would be E, A minor, G, it's gonna be D7, G, D7, G. So that'll be actually E dominant. Those are going to be the chords that the blue phrase is going to spell out. So blue phrase is pretty straightforward, except for trying to make the bass lines connect and make sense overall. But otherwise, it's going to be pretty straightforward in terms of phrasing. So let's just try all the way through. So 3. So 3 E and shift down, shift. So that's gonna be the second half. Second half is, I think a little bit easier than the first half, because there's just less chords, right? But it's still going to be difficult because the melody kind of just jumps around. So let's try the entire second half once through. And then let's talk about the timing of the chords and things like that, okay? All right, so here's the second half. 3, E, and 3. So that's how you play the second half of Sarabande. Let's quickly talk about timing of the chords, because I think really this is going to be the key aspect, right, of the piece. So in general in Bach, there's variety of ways of playing the chords. The standard, the default way of playing chords will be double stop and double stop, right? Two strings, bottom 2 and then top 2, right? But there's sometimes we have to break it into some other ways, such as we sometimes have the bottom 2 and then just a single on the top, right? For example, here, right, in the D suspended with the trill, right? So I kind of played 2 and 2 just for a brief second, and as I'm trilling, I'm breaking it kind of unevenly. So that's another way. Sometimes you can have it just kind of rolling, right? It's just kind of like the prelude, but just faster. That's an option as well. So what I just want to say is you have to kind of explore in terms of how you want to sound out the harmony. Generally speaking, you're gonna want to just stick to the 2 on the bottoms, right? But there are some occasions where you have to deviate from that, right? So like, for example, that here, the E dominant to A minor. So, for example, I like to single out the bass there because I want to show that movement, right? And then I hold the top 2. So, you don't always have to play 2 and 2, is what I'm trying to say. That way you're going to have a little bit more option in terms of how to make the timing of the chord fit better into the phrasing. The timing of the chord really isn't for keeping the rhythm, but it's to make the phrasing make sense, right? So one way you can play the Sarabande is ignoring even though you're playing the chord, you're not keeping count of the chord, right? So so for example, this is what I mean. 1 and 2 and 3 and so you're kind of just playing through the chords, even though you're playing the chords. For me, that's a little bit, I don't know. That feels a little bit pushing the feeling of this dance. So what I do is, I don't know, I start counting the rhythm from the melody. So what I do is 1, 2, and 3. 2 and right. So I start counting the beat as soon as I play the melody. So that's one way of timing the chords. I don't know if it really makes sense, but because it's very subtle. But those are the tips that I would suggest. Just having more options to play the chords than just 2 and 2 it's gonna allow you to have variety of sound. Okay. So I think all that's left now is to play through the whole entire piece. And for Sarabande, if I remember correctly, I do both of the repeats because it's quite short of a piece. So let me play through Sarabande once through, and then I think that'll be it for today. So yeah, let's play. So to be it for today. Hopefully this lesson helped you out in terms of trying to figure out how to play this piece, what to focus on, and how to practice this piece, right? So remember to always just trying to break down the elements. Don't try to do everything at once. That's always a bad idea. So take a little bit at a time for the piece. Don't try to do all the things that we talked about today, right? Instead, just take bits and parts of it and take your time learning it until you're comfortable, and then put everything together, right? So I hope this lesson helped. If it did, leave a thumbs up, give it a like, and remember to subscribe if to follow for more lessons that are coming up. We're gonna be finishing out the suite #1, and then after that I'm gonna have to figure out what to work on. So as always, thanks for tuning in and happy practicing. Bye.